Well, I pretty much went right through it, just right there.
Wow, look how smooth it is. I want
That's
to
right there.
Ah, sweet.
So now I've got this. And for my bowl to work, right, I really want to have a nice flat rim to start with. And I want to have a bottom that is parallel with the top. So we've got to take this rough guy that has no reference surface, no flat surface from which we can measure, and we have to then create flat reference surfaces. And ideally we have a top that's parallel to the bottom. So, first thing we have to do is create a flat reference surface, and there's a couple of issues. So now, here's our log. I'm going to start with this. I'm not going to actually cut into this, but I'll move over, because you can see how rough this is. This cannot, we don't want this to be the top of our bowl yet. First question is the pith. So we want to stay about a ½ inch away from the pith. All right? To be safe, cracks will start forming at the pith, so we can stay at least a ½ inch away is a good safe fit. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler, I'm going to measure down ½ inch. Now the pith is right here, right on the edge. Measure down ½ inch, and I'm going to make a mark. Simple as that. Then, I've got two sticks here, two sticks that are the same thickness, same width, and we're going to use these at something called winding sticks. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my stick on the wood, and it's not so critical right now whether I get it straight, but the straighter I get it, the more I can maximize the thickness of the piece I have. So I'm going to try to get it reasonably parallel with the sort of rough plane of the surface here. Does that make sense? I'm going to take my second stick, and I'm going to nail this one in, and I'm going to kind of eyeball this stick to be parallel with the other one. So how are you going to do that? I'm going to get right over this. I'm going to come here. No, it's pretty good. Watch out. So I lift here. So I'm just trying to eye straight down.
And line up the tops of each stick.
Line up the
right?
top of each stick, right. Does that make sense? And we're defining this plane then by the fork. The hatchet in there. Then you can put it in between your bench dogs on the bench, or we had the holding device before, and you'll take a hand plane and you'll work that flat, right? I don't need to demo that, we've all seen that. And we'll create a flat plane, and you can see I'm nice and parallel to the line, parallel to my chalk line, a little under there, right?
So if you wanted to keep that green, how long could you keep it in the bag before it's too dry to rework on?
I think you keep it peeing for a while, and it depends on where you put the bag, I think. But if it's hot, humid summer or out like this, the other problem though is that other things are going to start growing in there.
That's the
You're gonna
biggest
start
problem.
getting-
And the wood's going to start rotting.
Just again, so you kind of got the sense already from that. But here, so this is my Japanese carving hatchet, one of my favorite tools with a laminated steel. And I really do try to take care that any surface I'm hitting on is going to be reasonably clean, and certainly the wood that I'm hitting on is going to be clean. And I'll work this down. There is, however, another way to do this, if this is not your thing. So another way to do this might be to put this in the bench, take a crosscut saw, and saw down to your line, and move over a few inches and saw again. Move over, saw again, move over, saw again, and then take a flat chisel and chisel it out. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I like doing this because this is cool. You know, this is fun. You work this down. Constantly checking your line, trying to get your surface. You can see I'm trying to create a flat surface here, reasonably parallel with my line. And we bring it down really close to the line, we flip it over, and we take the hand plane and create another flat surface. If I had shaped this bowl and I hadn't started moving this bottom, it's very hard to know where the bottom, how do I know where the center of that bottom is? And you can see the X that is still there when I'm working on this bowl, so that everything is centered, so that my bottom is going to be centered and the bowl isn't going to fall over. Does that make sense? lay out and create your reference surfaces and lay everything out and deal with your technical issues before you start chopping away at it. Yes? Okay. After that, then comes the fun part. Then you start designing your bowl. In this case, you want to design the interior shape, as well as allowing for drawing in your wall thickness. And in this case, it probably will be thinner along the side grain, right? So the sides of the bowl can be thinner. We want to leave a little bit of thickness on the ends because it's short grain, just like the bowl of spoon, exact same issue. The short grain is going to be weaker, so we don't want to go too thin. I really wouldn't want to come up in here, certainly not too quickly, right? So I've left room here. This outside shape is just something I just made up last night. We were playing. This could be, your bowl could be square, your bowl could be a rectangle. You can play with that. You might want to leave room for a handle, right? And the inside shape doesn't necessarily have to be an oval, but an oval is easier. And if you have a smooth bottom to your bowl, it's going to be easier. If you do a square shape and you try to hollow square, certainly doable, but those tight in their corners are much harder to do. They're going to take a lot more time and care. Yes? If you think about the depth of the bowl, generally the deeper you go, the smaller the bottom. Does that make sense? Think about it visually. Small bottom is often visually quite pleasing, but then again it's a little bit rocky. So you have that balance. If you go a shallower bowl with a wider bottom, it might be more stable, but it might be a little more clunky where it hits the tabletop. Bevel on the outside. What the bevel on the outside means is that you have a little more clearance and you can do a little bit lighter cut because that bevel clears, right? Yeah. Does that make sense? I do know people who have the other one like I showed, who will literally just grind the end off and then they'll regrind a new bevel on the outside. You can also find these with a shorter handle. And I had an opportunity to try both. And I found with the shorter handle, I got more of a kind of a chopping cut. I didn't get the kind of pendulum swing that I want to get. So I ended up realizing that the longer handle was, and I don't know if that has to do with my height. Or,
It's also a curve versus straight.
right, right. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, it is.
Pretty handle, yeah. And you can see the handle is actually bent.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking at. That's unique.
So, any questions at this point? It's kind of cool. There are lots of other ways to hollow this. One could hollow this with a chisel. One could hollow this with an angle grinder. I mean, it depends on where you're coming from, what you want to do. I can tell you that when you get good with this, and I can't claim to be great, but when you get good with it, it goes very fast. You can hollow this in a matter of minutes. With Bob, you want to give it a shot?
Sure.
Yeah. So we want to try working evenly. We'll start from the center and work our way out. So I would suggest Bob cut just to one side of center and kind of work towards the middle. And then just going to turn around, turn his whole body around, and come this way and work towards the middle. And so you want to kind of work your way. Light cuts in the center, work your way out a little bit, work your way out a little further, work your way out a little further. Okay? Make sure you have your feet apart. You don't want to swing this thing into your shins. You really don't want to swing this into your shins.
Is it heavy or is it light?
Very light.
Yeah, I'm ready. Turn around. You want to kind of get the feel. You do not want to get too close to your line. Once you chop over your line, keep in mind that top plane, and you really want to get it centered. I get that here, right? Keep it.
I'll just work my way this way.
I think you should work all the way.
Okay. Boy, it cuts beautifully.
Once you get the feel, you can get a little closer to your line. You know, once you work your way out. It's a real drag to cut over your line. Oh, now it's just made it. You really will make a slice cut in what might be your final rim. So you want to be careful when you get out to the end. Of course, this is not going to be your final surface. You're going to get this close. It's a great way of packing material quickly. But you will be going back with a gouge. And you can then go back with a bowl gouge and clean this up. And then scrapers and really get this thing much cleaner on the inside.
Yeah.
And I'm trying See that now? We got that out. You can see the roll starting to form.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to get my roast to be very pendulum-like. I don't want to be chopping down. I really want to come through. Yeah. So one hand is pretty far up, the other hand's right at the back.